Thanks for joining us today at the festival. My name is Ben Baer, and I'm the executive editor of FastCo Works, the content studio here at Fast Company. And I'm excited to be moderating today's session in partnership with Square on purpose-driven businesses and the increased importance that customers are placing on shopping with brands and shops that align with their values. Joining me today to share their expertise and insights on this topic are a trio of talented business leaders. First, we have Tia Cummings, who is the Senior Vice President of Marketing at Square. Also with us is Maryam Henderson-Uloho, who is the founder of Sister Hearts, a unique thrift store based in the New Orleans area. And we're also joined by Julie Mitchell, the owner of Fig & Oak, an Ohio-based boutique that sells gifts and home goods. So let's get started and jump in. I would like to begin by hearing from each of you about why you think being purpose-driven is at the heart of each of your businesses. Julie, why don't you kick things off and also share with us a little bit more about your business?
Sure. So my family and I have always been very passionate to help people, to give back in some way. I think especially once my father was diagnosed with Parkinson's, we really felt driven to that purpose. And so we decided to open up a store, and everything in our shop gives back to various charities and or causes. So it's a great way for all of us to help out and do good with a purpose.
And that was something you guys decided right from the get-go.
Right from the get-go. Yeah, we knew every purchase. We wanted to have some sort of meaning or give back mission behind every order or every purchase.
Maryam, why don't you talk to us a little bit about Sister Hearts and share with us, again, your story, because it's a very unique one, and also the way you set up your store is very unique too.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I appreciate being here very much. But the reason that I'm so purpose-driven is that after experiencing and witnessing the brutality and torture of prison, I was dehumanized, demoralized, and desensitized. But in the midst of that abuse, I found my purpose. And after being released from prison, being purpose-driven has allowed me to, first of all, reestablish my humanity and to excel to heights of success that I never thought was imaginable. And I started a nonprofit organization because it is, everyone know inherently that purpose-driven as nonprofits, because nonprofits exist solely to solve a problem. And when I saw the abuse that took place in prison, I wanted to solve that problem of how people could reverse the trauma of that incarceration. So Sister Heart's goal is to solve that problem of trauma as it relates to incarceration through our decarceration program. And the decarceration concept means finding ways to reverse the trauma of incarceration.
And so what, for you, when you came out of prison, what was the sort of motivation to start Sister Hearts? Why did you decide to start it?
Because I personally was extremely traumatized. I had been broken, and I had no clue of how to reestablish my life. Not only that, I realized that psychiatrists, social workers, case managers, none of those people had been trained in trauma from prison. I refused to take no for an answer. So basically what I started doing was going inside myself to find remedies and cures to solve my own problem. And the thing that I found affected me the most was that I didn't know how to reestablish my humanity because I didn't feel human anymore, because I had been treated like an animal for so long. I didn't know how to reinvent myself. And that's how that started for me. So decarceration is what really saved my life.
And so tell us a little bit more about the thrift store and how that plays a role in sort of how the value piece of it translates to your business now.
The thrift store, now this is really amazing because when I got out of prison, I couldn't find a job. So I used to walk up and down the street, going to different places, looking for anyone that would hire me. And I used to see a lot of junk on the side of the road, trash, whatever you want to call it, but I'd see stuff on the side of the road. I'd get it, I'd take it to my house and I'd clean it up and I'd go back the next day and then I would sell it. The first $40 that I made, I invested it in myself first and then in my business. In 3 years, I built an empire. The thrift store was a connection where society throws away their discarded, rejected items. And those of us that come from prison, we are discarded and we feel rejected and unwanted also. So as a result, we can communicate with that thrown away from society discarded items, and that's why our store is such a success.
Thanks for sharing that. I think it's, we're going to dive a little bit more into how that plays with the customers and others that visit your business in a little bit, and hear a little bit more about that structure. So Tia, I know Square is a little bit different. You're not a small business, obviously, but being purpose-driven is very much a part of the culture there. Can you talk a little bit about how being purpose-driven is personified at Square, and how it plays a role in what you and your team do?
Yeah, Square was literally born from the idea of economic empowerment for all. So we started as a purpose-driven business. One of our founders was a glass artist who lost out on a major sale because he had no way of accepting credit card payments. The payment industry at the time was dominated by big banks and payment processors who required long-term contracts, expensive fees, clunky hardware, and none of that was accessible to small independent business owners. And so that's how we came to be, right? We made it fast and simple to accept payments for one flat rate, no long-term contracts. And so we were founded on this belief that everyone should have equal access to opportunity. And as we've grown, we've never lost sight of that. It's what drives everyone at the company and everything that we do. We remain focused on helping all types of entrepreneurs start, run, and grow their businesses so that they can succeed on their own terms. And having such a clear purpose really helps us not only attract and retain great talent to the company, but it also helps us retain our loyal customer base as well.
You bring up a good point there about customers, but also employees too. Why do you think social responsibility has become so important to consumers when they're making choices about where they shop or where they put their hard-earned dollars?
I honestly think that consumers used to expect the government to solve all the society's ills, and they now believe that companies should really be using their immense influence, power, and money to play a larger role there. I don't think it's enough anymore for consumers to just make and sell great products. Consumers want to know that these companies are making the world a better place. And in today's environment, those expectations have soared even more because they expect corporations to play a leadership role as it relates to the pandemic, to economic instability, sustainability, and racial injustice. So I think consumers have realized that they can now use their spending power to help push companies to do the work.
Interesting. Maryam, what do you think about that with the consumers that you interact with? What's so important to them? Obviously, the business is important, but the fact that they're coming to your store, why is that? Why is it important for them that social responsibility is a piece of this?
Well, to be quite honest with you, the hard part of what we do is actually done by Square. Square, they handle our marketing. But the easy part is to follow up with that humanity, the action behind the marketing. And when they come, we have a really unique way of helping each and every person that walks through that door feel special. I take my time, we take our time, we explain to the customer what our purpose is. Like, do you know what we do here? Most people say, no, it's a thrift store. I'm like, no, it's not. It's a decarceration facility. And you are helping us to rehabilitate and to reestablish ourselves as human beings. And then I explain everything in detail to them and let them know that these dollars that you're going to spend here today, I need you to know where that money is going and what we're doing with that money. And so it's like we give people the economic power with their dollars in Sister Hearts, plus give them quality merchandise at an economical price.
And Julie, for your business, I mean, it's a little bit of a different way of giving back, is that every transaction ends up, having a piece of it that goes to charities that you support. So talk to us a little bit about sort of how that customer reaction to and the value of having that social responsibility piece to your business plays in both acquiring customers, but also retaining them.
Sure. I think, I know for me, whenever I would go shopping, it's such a consumerism world right now that it can be very overwhelming. So I know for me, I was very much drawn to maybe headbands that gave back 3 meals or soap that gives back for clean water. And so I just feel like there's a connection there that is made with customers. And then there's an instant connection because of that, and conversations are sparked that maybe wouldn't have been sparked. And I just feel like everybody's very passionate, especially right now, to help others and help one another any way they can, no matter how big or how small.
And what has been some of the reactions from the customers, in terms of like when they learn that their transaction is going to be just not necessarily benefiting you economically, but also benefiting some of the charities that you support?
We have everything from tears because it's a relatable, subject, like maybe Parkinson's, that they knew someone as well, or just stories of joy. There's always just a personal connection right away. Like parents talking to their kids about, did you know that there are other countries that don't have clean water efforts, and this is what can be done. We can go and build wells, and that's one of our charity boxes is charity water. So just conversations that are sparked that may not just come when you're just shopping at any store without a purpose.
And Tia, with the overall sort of feeling about people wanting to be a little bit more connected to their communities, but also connected to businesses that do support the values and things that they are interested in, what is some of the sort of the bigger picture examples you can maybe share of some of this taking shape beyond just what we've been talking about here today?
Yeah, I think if I were to, translate that to Square, we've always been purpose driven, and we believe actions speak louder than words. So it's not just what we say, and it's what we do. We very much believe in supporting local communities, local businesses. For example, at the start of COVID, we created a directory called Give and Get Local. And the whole purpose was to help Square sellers get more visibility in the local community, with the ultimate goal of increasing the support that they received, right? We know how many businesses were struggling during COVID just to stay open. We also waived all of our software subscription fees for all of our businesses, right? Because it was more important for us to support these business owners going through a hard time than it was for us to line our pockets. The other thing that we believe is that we have to tell inclusive stories, because it's about showing that we support all business owners. We did a whole video series on Black owned, where we were able to identify how Black identity, community, and legacy intersected with business in a really central way. And not only did we feature these Black owned businesses, but we intentionally hired a Black director with a Black crew so that we could tell these stories in really authentic ways, right? So those are just a few examples of how we aim to bring our purpose to life in everything we do, because we can't really say that we're for economic empowerment for all if we don't actually mean all.
You bring up a good point about authenticity. Maryam, I'm interested to hear a little bit about, because obviously you have to run a business, right? There's some core pieces that you want to make sure you keep the lights on and things like that. But it's also, you're trying to be authentic to yourself and to the goals of your business too. Can you talk a little bit about some of your experience through that, and then share, because we have our audience here, it's going to be entrepreneurs and like-minded folks that maybe are interested in potentially starting their own business. They may want to know how to approach this. So I'm interested to hear your experiences, maybe what you can share from how you went about it.
I really didn't understand what purpose driven was. But now that I understand what purpose driven really is, it's something that I can honestly say, and I need to make sure that I let everybody know that Square does not pay me to speak, and they don't pay me to say what I'm going to say. But Square has taught me how to be not only socially responsible, but they also taught me how to be purpose driven through their support. And just like Jack Dorsey taught me a long time ago when we had a conversation, and he said that, Maryam, I want you to always remember, investing in people is your greatest asset. And I never forgot that. I just didn't understand it. But I would say to anyone, Ben, anyone, that first of all, people first, the money will come.
Mary, you bring up a very good point about people too, because it's the staff that you have there too, and it's getting buy-in to your vision and your mission and what you're doing there beyond just finding an employee is something that I'm interested to hear a little bit more about. Obviously, providing a job is important, but how do you explain to them and how do you talk to them about the mission of Sister Hearts in a way that makes sure that there's buy-in for what you're doing?
The wonderful thing about our mission is that each participant that is there, they are the mission. First of all, it's not really a job, it is a program first. Because a job means that I have to pay you for working. They're not working. It's called organizational therapy and decarceration. So the pride that they take in their work, and when customers come in, they take the customers and say, hey, look, this is what I did today. I organized the shoes, I organized the purses. So they take ownership in their own rehabilitation and decarceration process. And then we give the responsibility back to the customers, because sometimes I'll go to customers and say, hey, look, this person just started here today, and I need you to go over there and ask them some questions so that they'll get used to talking about themselves. So I give that responsibility to the customer. But what I feel is that our mission is to build economic stability. And as soon as they come out of prison, that's an automatic given. So every day they're there, they know they're building stability economically. One of the other things too, being they have to have a bank account to work in our program. They have to, it's non-negotiable. And now we have financial planners from Edward Jones. They're coming to our facility to start giving us lessons on financial empowerment for stocks and stuff like that, because I believe as entrepreneurs, you have to learn how to be diverse.
And is that something, I mean, you're sort of, doing this training, but is that something you had to learn personally yourself?
Well, it was easy for me to learn those things because I learned those things from Jack Dorsey and Square. I did. Because
I think you probably learned some of these things yourself. You're being kind to Jack and the Square team, but I think some of these things about why you started your business, it was probably about your idea and your vision, right?
No, Ben, Jack, I never knew what a stock was. Jack gave me $100,000 in Square stock. And I never knew, you can't buy stock with food stamps. So no, I didn't know anything about stocks and stuff, right? But I knew how to hustle. So yeah, walking up and down the street, gathering trash off the road, that came easy. But the more I began to talk to the team and then getting the financial planner and then my bankers, and then all these people began to educate me. And then I passed that education down to my peers. And so I see how it has transformed my business. Like, for example, we just paid cash $250,000 for a building, $250,000 for a transitional facility. We just purchased a 2019 Tundra truck. And Ben, we're getting the first mobile boutique on wheels.
And the journey this keeps going.
Yes.
Let me switch over to Julie and talk to you, because yours is a little bit more of a family business. So it's a little bit of a different setup. Can you talk to us a little bit, though, about how you either deal with making sure that the buy-in with the staff that you do hire or the partners that you work with to make sure that they adhere to the same sort of values that you want personified in the business that you operate?
Sure. I feel like, just like I said earlier, from the get-go, my family was very involved, was my cheerleading squad, tried to help me get the confidence to take the plunge and do this. I think they're very passionate about just every product that they can find that can give, that gives back to help direct me to those. And then, of course, finding those products instantly gives them a connection as well. And connecting with customers too. It's really neat to find our customers maybe telling us about a company in Akron, Hope Soap, that helps the homeless, and then encouraging us to bring that product in too. So it's kind of really nice to see my family interacting with customers to build this mission.
Can you also tell us a little bit about sort of the marketing piece of this, and how do you balance sort of, putting your business forward, but also putting the mission piece and the purpose-driven piece of it in any of the marketing that you do? Can you share a little bit about any advice you had about sort of what's the right balance, what's the right mix to have when you're talking about your business, but also pushing through sort of what your business's values are?
Yeah, that has always been kind of hard for me. I think marketing in general has been probably a weakness, but at the same time, I think when I'm really excited about a product, or when the family's excited, we can start talking about that. And I think, like what Maryam said earlier, it's very important as customers come in that we are greeting them, we're explaining what our store is, what our mission is, what we're about, helping them to shop with purpose for certain causes maybe that they're passionate about. So, yeah.
So, Tia, that passion that Julie's speaking about, how important is that in sort of the marketing messages that you put out there? You obviously want to balance it. You don't want to be too overly passionate about something, but, to scare off customers necessarily, maybe with an overly aggressive message about something. But how do you harness that passion in the right way? And what do you at Square, what do you advise when with marketing tools for entrepreneurs like Julie and Maryam?
Yeah, I don't know if there's such thing as being too passionate, right? Especially when it's coming from a real place. Hearing Maryam and Julia talk about their businesses, like you feel the passion. That's real. That's authentic. And I think people need to see that. I think that resonates with people when they hear it. We try to do the same thing at Square, and it can be tougher in a bigger company. I think what helps is everyone here believes in the purpose and the mission of the work we do. Most of the people who say they work here came because of that mission. That makes it easier, right? So when we're doing the work, we ask ourselves, like, is this really going to benefit our customers? How are they going to react to this? How are they going to feel? And we put ourselves in their shoes, right? We talk to them. We hear what they're struggling with. We hear what their hopes, their dreams are. And we just try to bottle that up and present it as plainly and as purely as possible, right? Without sort of tainting it with our voice and our message. And I think that's how you ensure that it comes across in a way that people can really connect with.
Maryam, as you were talking about growth a little earlier, I'm interested to know, like, as you grow and you get bigger, it's sometimes hard to make sure that sort of purpose piece of it keeps growing with you. How are you thinking about it as you're starting your sort of mobile piece and making sure that the core goals of what you're doing with decarceration keeps growing with the business as it grows?
Man, my job is so easy, so simple. Tia has she has the hard job. My job's easy because let me tell you what I do, right? They have this system. Square has this system because I use Square system. And now my customers at the end of a sale, I say, look, put your phone. I guess I'm not the most diplomatic. Sometimes I'm kind of ghetto fabulous. And so I'll be like, hey, look, put your phone number in here so I can send you some money. And they immediately put their phone numbers in, and Square sends them a coupon for a $5 discount on their next purchase. So the hard work is done, but it makes them feel, you're going to send me some money? You're sending me some money? I'm like, of course, you spend money with me. I want to send you some money. So they get the $5. You would think they're getting $50. But the thing of it is that when you partner with other organizations, and as a small business like ours, we need organizations like Square to help us with our marketing because they truly do understand. And then it's not just that. With Fast Company, and I'm going to tell you the honest to God's truth, Ben, I was so shocked. I was like, now, why would an organization like Fast Company be coming down here in the ghetto wanting to talk with me? And they know I'm so fabulous with it. I mean, I'm probably not going to be most diplomatic, but that is just the most amazing thing for these big conglomerates to be so purpose-driven, because I now know what that means, to be so purpose-driven to not forget the little people. That is just the most amazing thing to me. And I'm really, really humbled by it. And so when I go back into my community with my peers, I can encourage them with real authenticity and sincerity to say, hey, look, guys, keep up the good work. Don't worry. You could be on TV without having to committed a crime. You could be on TV for something good. Just keep doing good. And it will happen for you because look at how it's happening for me. And as I shine, you guys shine too. So that's it.
Well, the reason we come down is authenticity. You just said it. We're looking for those authentic stories, and we want to hear those authentic, lessons and advice that you can provide to our audience because that's really key to it. Between you and Julie and Tia, in terms of that authenticity is so important to it. I guess my next question for you is, where do you see things going next, and what do you see is important for you and your business as the next steps as you grow and on your journey as a business owner? And Maryam, I'll start with you. Yeah, I'll start with you.
Well, let me tell you, I have already seen that people want convenience. And being purpose-driven, you give people convenience. You make it convenient for them. So with this COVID business and people are afraid to go out. And so during the Hurricane Ida that we're in now, I took advantage because I went to Texas. But what I did was I traveled all over the state of Texas, going to different thrift stores, and I would record it live And I was showing people the prices and the products, and they would get involved, and they're like, oh my God. So that's where I came up with the mobile concept of, instead of people having to go out to boutiques, we could actually bring the boutique to you. And because a lot of the universities are leery about their students going out into the city, we'll just bring the whole mobile boutique to your universities. That's the future. And it's going to have chandeliers and dressing rooms, and it's going to be big, beautiful, bright, and pink, and it's going to have sister hearts all over it. And so people, when they see it, they'll be able to come out and buy designer vintage clothes and shoes and purses. And so I see the boutique becoming mobile in the future, especially if they're going to continue having hurricanes down here.
And purpose goes mobile.
Yes.
Julie, talk to us a little bit about sort of what's the future holding for you and your business and what you'd like to see next. Obviously, it's been challenging years for a lot of folks, and especially small business owners. So I'm interested to hear what you're optimistic about for the future and where you see things going next.
It's hard because I've never been one to like really think, oh, what do you want to do in 5 years? And I'm already blown away by how the business has just bloomed already. But I do know that my husband and I have also talked about how fun it would be to do some sort of mobile boutique, being able to spread the mission a little bit farther than just here in Ashland, but also just talking about how much we love our downtown, and we're so passionate because our downtown is really thriving and growing more than it has in years. And so for us, we love the idea of just being like a destination location, like come here and enjoy all of our historical downtown and be part of this community and see what all we have to offer here.
Yes.
Yeah. And so Tia, why don't you finish up that line thinking sort of, what are you looking for in the future? Obviously, you just heard two very inspiring stories from Julie and Maryam about their future plans. What are you seeing for the future when it comes to purpose-driven businesses and how Square is going to support it?
Yeah, people are talking so much about purpose-driven businesses now, even more so than they were before 2020, right? But I think since COVID and everything else that has happened over the past year and a half or so, that trend is only going to continue, right? I think you are seeing people really focused on figuring out how can they serve a community, how can they meet a need, and taking a passion that they have and a community need and connecting the two. And for businesses who haven't yet got on the train or the bandwagon, they're late. They have a lot of catching up to do. But I think the future is bright for these businesses because consumers have already shown this is where they're going to spend their dollars. This is where they want to support. And so these types of mission-based, purpose-driven businesses are the ones who are going to benefit in the long term.
We'll end on a question that's going to sort of, again, be advice-driven. We've got a lot of entrepreneurs and startup founders, but also potential folks that want to maybe launch their own business and are thinking they may want to make it purpose-driven. I would be interested to hear if there's a single piece of advice that each of you could give to sort of share with us audience. It would be helpful, I'm sure, to walk away from this conversation knowing something or inspiring them in a specific way. Tia, can I have you maybe just go first, provided maybe your first bit of advice, and then Maryam will come to you.
Yeah, and mine is simple. This is what I tell people. Find your passion and find a unique consumer community need and marry the two. That's how a purpose-driven business is born, right? There is an unmet need out there, just like with Square. Small businesses couldn't take credit card payments. Right. And I love Maryam's story and Julie's story. They each found a unique need in their community and they took that passion and said, I'm going to build something from it. That's really how it starts. Right. And once you've got that compelling need that you're trying to meet, you've got the passion, you'll be able to tell the business case and tell the story to get people to support it. And that's how these businesses start. And that's how they grow. It starts with a passion and it starts with an unmet need.
That's a very good point. Maryam, what do you think? What's your one bit of advice for other entrepreneurs out there that are maybe considering applying sort of purpose-driven or value-based piece to their business, or maybe pursuing their idea in that same vein?
Like Jack Dorsey told me, and it still rings true, and I'll tell anybody that I ever meet, invest in your people and everything else will happen organically.
Julie, what about you? What's your one bit of advice you'd like to share?
I think taking that first step is always really hard, and remembering you don't have to have it all figured out. Just take that first step. Just remembering why you do what you do and keeping that purpose foremost in your heart. So when you ask yourself what in the world you're doing, you're just regrounded with your purpose and your mission, and that keeps you going one day at a time.
One day at a time. Well, thank you all. We're going to have to wrap it up here. But I do want to give thanks to Maryam, Julie, and Tia for taking the time to share their insights and expertise on this very important topic and time out of their business day. I hope all of you who are watching will walk away with some inspiration and takeaways to apply to your own organizations. I know I certainly did. On behalf of Fast Company and Square, thanks for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of the Innovation Festival.